So what is occupational therapy? Occupational therapists, or OTs, aim to enhance functional potential through the use of everyday meaningful activities. This might include adapting the task or the environment to gain maximum independence and enhance performance. This is why as OTs we advise about sensory issues. Sensory systems are thought to form the foundation of other higher level skill building that helps our daily function. Sensory stimulation can affect all areas of our daily function, and OTs can suggest ways to minimize difficulties and maximize potential. What we don't do. Diagnose. Our service does not provide a diagnosis of sensory processing disorder. This is a term that is sometimes used, but is not a recognized diagnosis within the UK. Through assessment, conversation, and observations, our service will state whether a child appears to present with no, some, or definite sensory processing difficulties within each sensory system, but we do not state that a child has sensory processing disorder. We don't offer ongoing therapy. We have provided a sensory processing assessment with advice and guidance following this in the form of a written report. With this report and the information included in this presentation, we hope to help you to deliver effective, long-term sensory-based strategies. Our service aims to provide information which is specific to sensory processing. However, we understand that children may experience other non-sensory difficulties alongside. Examples may include reduced danger awareness, difficulty with emotional regulation, challenges with communication, behavioral difficulties, and difficulty remembering or processing information. Occupational therapy advice will not address these non-sensory difficulties directly. However, supporting a child's sensory systems may help them to tolerate or cope with daily activities more generally. So what is sensory processing? It's the way the brain receives and organizes information through our sensory systems to help us to function effectively in our everyday lives. Within our service, therefore, we are not concerned with assessing how well the senses are functioning, for example, how good our eyesight is or how well we can hear, but rather we are interested in what our brain is doing with the sensory information. We determine how a child is responding to stimulation through the 5 common sensory systems and also 2 less well-known systems, the body awareness or proprioceptive system and the vestibular system. We aim to understand what difficulties a child is having within these sensory systems and the negative impact it may be having on a child's life. More detailed information about the sensory systems will be covered in their individual modules. So what sensory processing difficulties do we see? Broadly speaking, we see 2 types of difficulty: over-responsiveness or sensitivity and under-responsiveness, both of which may affect our ability to engage with the activities within our day. Over-responsiveness may present as a strong negative response to sensory stimulation that other children of the same age may tolerate more easily. An example of this would be a child who struggles to engage with learning due to their response to the level of sound, and shows this by covering their ears and becoming upset. If a child is under-responsive, they may struggle to register incoming sensory information. This can show in many ways, for example, not noticing physical contact within the touch system, or appearing not to hear certain sounds within the auditory system. It may also cause a child to appear less engaged with an activity at this time due to the need for additional sensory stimulation which they may not naturally seek. Some children do naturally seek this additional sensory stimulation. This is known as sensory seeking and may present as if a child is overly active at this time, for example, appearing to fidget whilst needing to sit still in class. As part of your child's occupational therapy assessment process, a parent-caregiver questionnaire will have been completed, which helps to identify possible tendencies to sensory over or under responsiveness. This is then used to consider possible effects on your child's level of sensory arousal during daily activities, including when at school. Our service uses this framework of the sensory arousal to help provide an understanding of what a child might be experiencing and what can be done to help with this. The middle green line on the diagram shows a calm yet alert level of sensory arousal, helpful for functioning and learning. The top red line represents a too high level of arousal, which could be positive, e.g. feeling giddy or overexcited, but is more often a negative feeling of being overwhelmed. The bottom yellow line shows a too low level of arousal, which may represent the times when we feel tired or like our energy levels are too low to meet the demands of a task. In an ideal world, we hope that our sensory arousal level will stay in a happy middle ground. We sometimes refer to this as the calm alert level, pictured here in green, meaning that we are calm and not feeling overwhelmed or distressed, but alert and ready to engage with the day. At this middle level, we are supported to access available learning opportunities throughout our day and are best able to cope with our daily activities by staying regulated. The red line represents the point when the sensory arousal has risen to an overwhelming and distressing level. This level is typically reached by those children with sensory sensitivities and who are exposed to more sensory stimulation than they can tolerate. This is the level where we may see challenging behaviors, fight or flight responses, and noticeable sensory avoiding behaviors. If this level of sensory arousal continues, shutdown may occur, when a child withdraws and appears to have shut down their sensory systems. They may be difficult to engage, quiet, and take themselves away to recover. The yellow line represents the point that a child's sensory arousal level is below the best level for functioning and learning. When in this zone, children would benefit from appropriate sensory stimulation to reach the level required for sensory regulation, helping them to engage with the activities and learning opportunities throughout their day. This is also the zone that triggers sensory seeking behavior in the children that tend to do this. Children who seek sensory stimulation are actively trying to generate or find sensory stimulation to increase their sensory arousal level up to the calm alert level mentioned before. Applying the strategies. It may be helpful to use the information in your child's occupational therapy report alongside knowledge of the activities of their day to help plan the best use of supportive strategies. Using strategies in a preventative way may be more helpful than trying to use these once a child has become dysregulated, when they may be less effective. If unexpected spikes or crashes of sensory arousal level occur, we may need to be guided by the behaviors or reactions to the situation at the time. We can learn a lot about a child's sensory arousal level based on the behaviors we observe. Consideration of these may be helpful in identifying possible sensory factors to try to support these preventatively in the future. If a child has become dysregulated, it may be possible to use some strategies to support recovery. However, it would be important to understand the child's level of arousal at this time to identify the most helpful type of approach to use. The occupational therapy report you have received will have identified whether your child experiences over or under responsiveness, and therefore the types of activity or approach that may be helpful to try. If some time has passed since your child's appointment, the strategies contained within their report may need to be adapted by you or school to continue to be appropriate. But fundamentally, the strategies given will remain constant as the principles do not change. For this reason, we may not accept re-referrals for reassessment if the advice requested matches the advice already given. We hope that you have found the information in this presentation useful,
And if you require any further support or have any questions, please contact the Children's Occupational Therapy team on the number below.
So some reasons why referrals are not accepted. A request has been made for something that we do not offer. Perhaps not enough information has been included about the details of the difficulties experienced. And possibly no examples have been provided for how these difficulties are negatively impacting the child's life.